I gotta be honest, I don't think 2023 was a great year for film. Even a lot of the big critical darlings didn't quite do it for me. PSA level theming, focusing on the wrong thing, faffing about, and yet, I still managed to see some fantastic films this year. So here's my top 10 movies of 2023. Sorry this is late, I'm even now still pretty sick. I also got some custom awards a little later in the video, so enjoy, comment with your own list, and subscribe to support the channel. Number 9 and up were pretty easy to choose, but it was really hard to get a number 10 slot. Manodrome, Red Rooms, Dream Scenario, movies with great ideas, but not able to keep the momentum. So I thought, you know what? I know it practically fell asleep between midpoint and climax, and the number of times characters dramatically said a certain word started to grate my cheese whiz, but Godzilla Minus One is a thrilling good time. Early on, I knew I was in for something special when a nighttime skirmish showed me two things. One, that the action was going to be intense and chaotic in the best kind of way, and two, this Godzilla is scary, man. He is fast and angry and ruthless and creates a real sense of panic. He's a straight up dick. The plot offers plenty of character drama, and many set pieces comprise of entertaining experiments against the monster, often by a small group of fighters. That's really how the film feels as a whole. A renegade, gritty, low-budget ragtag wonder that does a lot with very little and does it all with passion. I've got my issues, as I've mentioned, but scenes like the fishing boat attack, or probably the most devastating atomic breath ever, give this one enough to make the list. Number 9 is All of Us Strangers. You will probably cry. This took me on quite the journey, and the fact it held me at such a distance for the first 15 minutes or so paid off big time. See, when it started, I didn't really have a handle on it and assumed it was a well-shot, well-acted, but fairly typical indie gay romance about repression and loneliness. Once a supernatural element starts to make more of an impact, this became something else, something I never experienced. All in all, it felt like a dream, and it builds without one realizing it's building. If I had to be specific, it's about an introvert learning to let go. Now, a theme is only as good as its execution, and luckily there's not much lacking here. The performances are excellent across the board, I really like the rhythm to the editing, and the lighting is gorgeous. Every conversation with his parents rings with genuine love and tension. It's one of those movies that only improved in my mind and wouldn't leave. And anything I can't stop thinking about gets on my top 10 by default. It's not one of the strongest plots, but easily one of the strongest feelings I've gotten from a movie this year. Zone of Interest is probably the most interesting Holocaust film out there, in that it never shows what's actually happening in the concentration camps. It focuses on a family and their almost mundane day-to-day, working, cooking, and gardening, while mere feet away from a camp. Just like they have put these horrors out of sight and out of mind, the film uses specific framing to do the same. A backyard appears normal until shot from one angle. A door blocks a guard tower until it's closed. I don't think I've ever seen a movie shot with so much purpose, and it all folds into that idea of happy ignorance. 10 minutes in, I thought this would be my favorite of the year. My only issue is that while the film is hitting that one brilliant point repeatedly, that's kind of all it's doing. The actual narrative is bland, and it's supposed to be, but it doesn't make it any more engaging. Still, watching Zone of Interest is like being inside a massive clock, seeing all the fine-tuned gears and levers flawlessly working together, and you can't help but stare at it. There really isn't anything like it. The best cinematography of the year, no competition. A strange, smart experience. Number 7 is The Iron Claw. I promise it's not just a list of depressing stuff, but this one hooked me so deeply that in the second half I was barely blinking. It's practically the 1980s version of Job from the Bible. Everything goes so wrong so quickly. The plot develops like one of those acrobatic throwdowns. It rises with sweeping energy and then lowers the boom. And for the last third, you just lay there concussed. All the actors playing the sons portray that brotherly loyalty very well, and major points to them for some impressive stunt work. The movie is also beautifully shot. One spiritual sequence took me off guard, and it's probably my favorite scene in the movie. The Iron Claw is a hard-hitting and respectful account of a true-to-life tragedy, and offers plenty of polish to still make it an entertaining sports drama. I really liked this one. Number 6 is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. People are sleeping on this movie. You see the trailer or just read the title and assume it's an ordinary, feel-good flick for the whole family. And it can definitely serve as that, but it's doing so much more, not just with its plot, but with putting you in the mindset of a prepubescent in the 70s. First off, the production design is lovely. The different suburban rooms are authentic and eye-catching, and in many cases serve to define certain characters. The pacing is perfect, never rushing through an emotional scene, but never stalling either. The acting is great, not just from the adults, but from all the children, who actually act like kids. While the protagonist is on a spiritual quest of sorts, she's also stumbling her way into puberty. Periods, pads, buying that first bra with her mom. These are topics that will obviously resonate with women, but as a guy, I found this pretty fascinating. The film hits the right tone. It's not crude, it's not wagging its finger, and it's not hiding anything either. It's just honest. And by showing these awkward developments through the wide-eyed child's perspective, the film mines a lot of comedy. I was laughing throughout the film. Too bad Oppenheimer exists, otherwise this would be my favorite ending of the year. It's sweet, funny, wonderfully performed, and wraps up the entire vibe of the film. A mother-daughter scene for the ages, in a mother-daughter movie for the ages. Before we keep going, here are some custom awards for the year, starting with Best Montage. All of Us Strangers comes close with its beautiful shots, fun editing, and dope song by Blur, but I have to go with Talk to Me. Great editing, great shots, great song, this was a big highlight for the year. Biggest surprise, The Killer by David Fincher wasn't that good. Biggest relief, people catching on that Star Wars and Pixar suck now, comic book movies need to die already, and Disney remakes are cash grabs. Took you guys long enough. Best Intro, Past Lives. It's a minute long, it's immersive, and I can't think of a better way to set up this story. Worst Horror, there's something wrong with the children. Bad acting, not scary, and you can picture the filmmakers going, uh-oh, this isn't good. Quick, 80s synth music, go! Best Horror, Talk to Me is good, there's When Evil Lurks, but I'm gonna go with The Conference. Not because it's actually the best, but because more people need to watch it. The comedy elements don't work, but as a slasher, it's the best in over a decade. Pretty fun, check it out. Let's get back to it. At number 5 is May December. With its glossy visuals and soap opera soundtrack, May December's slice of campiness separates it from other dramas around sex and scandal. Every character here is memorable, and both the script and the film itself uses setting to great effect when exploring them. And yes, the ending of May December falls a little flat, even with the interpretations I've read, but what blew my mind was the performance of Charles Melton. He's playing someone who was seduced at a young age and ended up marrying and raising a family with his seducer. In every single dialogue exchange, with the most subtle of posture changes, mannerisms, vocal shifts, and facial expressions, the actor shows us a heart-wrenching example of stolen innocence. A little boy pretending his status quo is normal. It's hard to watch. Even now, all I want to do is hug him. May December is a very good film, stylish and with a captivating hook, but that performance makes it a must-watch. I mentioned earlier how anything I can't stop thinking about gets into my top 10 by default. Well, anything I can't shut up about gets into the top 5. What a wild movie. And number 4 is Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. Miles better than the original, Across the Spiderverse improves on practically every front. Most will praise its ambition, and they are correct. Before, the different animation styles were relegated to single characters, and so appropriately in the sequel, it's expanded so we get full worlds this time. But even in the standard setting, this movie is constantly experimenting with visual pathways to emotion, how to make a joke villain menacing, how to literally illustrate the complicated dynamic between father and daughter. And yet, what impressed me most was the improvement in the characters. Unlike the monotone bore from the original, Gwen is a much fuller character with her own flaws and goals. The scenes with her and Miles strike the right tender tone. The villain is great, and Gabriel, the Chrome Spider-Man, is a fantastic addition with a great vocal performance by Oscar Isaac. While Disney is busy relying on nostalgia bait and recliner filmmaking, movies like this are actually making art, taking risks, having fun, getting messy. Of course, it's not perfect, the banter can be a bit much, and the first fight with the Spot has this hideous glitchy 3D effect on it. But this was a blast that got even better as it went on, with introspective moments just as powerful as the spectacle.
All stations, drop what you're doing and stop Spider-Man. Miles Morales, he's entering Sector 4.
Past Lives is one of those movies where every decision feels like the right one. The music is light but still moving. The shot composition is well arranged without being showy. The performances are natural, yet in their quieter moments showcase a lot of depth. The plot moves time periods just when you have the right amount of information from a certain setting. It's almost a stereotype to associate anything East Asian with the precise and delicate, but that's what we have here. It's a film where no one element interrupts or takes attention from another, and you end up with this perfect little dessert of an experience. I think more than any film I've seen, Past Lives captures the bittersweet, a gentle yet painful longing for something that could never be. I was rooting for all three main characters, even though their goals are completely incompatible. I knew the movie would hurt me, and it did, but it was the good kind of hurt that you emerge from wiser than before. It's a script that understands people, and a film that explores our hopes and insecurities with the softest touch. And don't worry, this isn't some Boyhood, Nomadland, nothing happens and that's the point bullshit. This is an actual story with drama and development that has something worthwhile to say, and it says it beautifully. Runner-up is Oppenheimer. I'm going to talk about two things. First, I think more people should be paying attention to the cameo by Casey Affleck. He is terrifying in this role, and I sweat every time I watch this scene. And second, Oppenheimer's non-linear editing and how many cuts are used in general made me think of something. See, there are people who still think 2016's Suicide Squad is good. I know they're out there running with scissors and everything, it's crazy. And I wondered if they watched this movie and through the clouds of mango-flavored vape smoke looked at this kind of editing and thought, wait a minute, this montage-style editing got our film fed to piranhas, but in Oppenheimer it's okay? And the answer is yes. It's the kind of editing I don't want to be a trend, to be used by less talented filmmakers, because it's designed around one specific kind of character. The rhythm and pacing of the editing and the quick cuts are there to show how this particular scientific mind works, and how that mind evolves through education, art, and reflection. As the film progresses, this editing serves to provide information, or to make you feel panicked, and it's all to mostly serve one man. That's the separator. Oppenheimer isn't cut this way to look cool or dangle keys, it's to tell something complex in the best way it can. Also, this movie was brilliant, involving, and is even more fun on a rewatch, despite Florence Pugh's character being about as well crafted as someone from Riverdale. And at last, after digging through rentals and screeners for weeks, I found a movie I'm comfortable calling the best of the year, and that's Anatomy of a Fall. The main concept is that a man falls to his death, and the wife is accused of his murder, while the only potential witness is her blind son. Anatomy of a Fall does a superb job showing how any and all aspects of a relationship can be misinterpreted. There's a harrowing scene where we listen to a recording of a couple fighting, and we know the prosecution is gonna have a field day, because especially without visuals, hearing that kind of marital hate stops your breath. There are so many surprising choices. There's a song playing during the time of the fall, so we hear it both during the event and even in the trial. Of all the songs to choose, a safe choice would be something more somber, maybe a classical piece or a ballad. Instead, we get a steel drum remix of PIMP by 50 Cent, and it works really well. Did I mention the dog scene? I won't say more, but I don't know if it was makeup or acting or both, but it's the most insane scene featuring a dog I've ever witnessed. The filmmaking is top tier. The acting is incredible, especially from the child. It's a textbook example on how to escalate drama. Above all else, It's entertaining as hell. The best of 2023. That's my top 10 of the year. What do you think? I'd love to hear yours, so please comment with your lists. Also, check out my recent video on The Wailing. I'm especially proud of the last third. I'll be putting more content about the Oscars closer to March, and another horror list as well, so stay tuned. As always, thanks for watching.